Hello, everybody. This is Jim.
And this is Dee.
And we're here for another podcast. Today we're going to continue on with our seeking the deep secrets of the selfish giant. And we're gonna pick up where we left off last time. Just to recap a little bit here. We've established that there was a beautiful garden and the children used to go and play there every day after school until the giant came back, found them in there, and he chased them off and threatened them, and he built a wall to keep them out and put up a sign saying trespassers will be prosecuted. And that's where we are up to this point. And then today we're going to continue on with the next paragraph, and I'll read that to you briefly here. So here's what it says. He was a very selfish giant. The poor children had now nowhere to play. They tried to play on the road, but the road was very dusty and full of hard stones, and they did not like it. They used to wander around the high walls when their lessons were over and talk about the beautiful garden inside. How happy we were there, they said to each other. So that's where we are.
Well, I just, this song is interesting to me because it's where the story, and the characters have kind of been introduced. The garden is there. We know that so far the giant seems kind of like a funny, interesting kind of a fellow, and we're sad that he came back and kicked the kids out. But most people and most people don't realize that this idea that Oscar Wilde was putting forth, that he was a very selfish giant. And then he goes on to describe how his selfishness, the giant's selfishness, affected all the kids. It affected everyone around him.
Affected the kids, it affected him. Well, we'll see more as it goes along. But.
And how it had impact. And a lot of people say, doesn't really matter what I do as long as I don't hurt anybody else. And, we've spent a lifetime trying to talk to people, trying to understand ourselves. This concept that people say the love of money is the root of all evil, but it's deeper than that. It's the love of self above everything else is actually the root of all evil. And so I think even the title of the story, The Selfish Giant, attracted us at the very beginning. And Jim may have more to say about that. But I think that this is a song where we start to see that the giant has a serious character flaw.
Yeah, my own theological bent tells me that selfishness is the essence of sin. All sin springs from selfishness, and this is a story where it expresses itself in one particular way, but any sin will come from a love of self first. And so we're going to play you that song, and then that will, I don't know, we may have something to say afterwards, and then that'll be it for this podcast.
A very selfish giant, so the children had no place to play. It seemed he only loved the giant in his lovely garden. Lonely he would stay. Children played on the dusty road. So the children had no place to play. Seems he only loved the giant in his lovely garden. Lonely he would stay. The children played on the mountainside, but it was covered with thorns. So they gazed out toward the garden wall. If only he had never come home.
Okay, well, he was a very selfish giant. And, this was one of the songs that I was working by this time. It was starting to get hard to get me in the studio. But it was kind of exciting to be actually doing so. It had been a while. It had actually been some time since I had been in the studio. And so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun working on vocals again. And Jim set up a little vocal booth surrounded by curtains and we were. I was starting to get excited about the whole thing and about the idea of being able to sing it. And my voice, I wasn't happy with it at first, but over the course of the project, things got easier. And so this song just reminds me that doing these vocals was stretching me and sending us in new directions.
Well, we were expanding our writing craft and musically. Like she said, she wasn't here, and I think I've mentioned this on another podcast, because I was the only one around. I ended up doing all the background vocals on most of the songs. This one I did all the instruments. There's again, it's a fairly simple musically. There's an acoustic guitar with a capo that I use to get some of the kind of open sounding chords towards, which aren't there in the beginning, but they're there later on. MIDI programming to give you the keys and the bass and the drums, and then the electric guitar parts. So again, we're musically we're building from the beginning of fairly simple stuff. The background harmonies are fairly simple, and finally getting Dee back in the studio again to do some singing. But anyway, that's the what number song is that? That's
Fourth.
The fourth song?
No, well, the fifth if you count the overture.
Okay, so that's the fourth song with words on it anyway. And so we'll be back next week with another one. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys later.